Yeah, I'm kidding. I was going for the sinister lighting. Good morning, everyone. 2 films in already. Wow. So our first film today was The Wave. Now, this was a surprise. I hate disaster movies. I do not like them. I do not seek them out. I do not make time for them. But I trust our overlords here at FrightFest that they only pick stuff they think is worth watching. So I went. I nearly missed it because I got the time wrong, but I just made it in time. And this is a Norwegian film. And it's about a disaster that happens in a fjord. But it's based on the fact that it's probably actually going to happen one day. And if they don't predict it in time, it could play out like this movie does. Hollywood, watch this movie. If you're going to make more disaster movies, use this as a template. This is how you do it. This is how you get the audience to care for a family, care for the characters, build relationships in not too ridiculous an amount of time, but with really good performances, really good script, really natural, so you believe this family are together. They love each other, but they're a normal family. They've got some of the little dysfunctional stuff going on. Just really, really likable people, all of them. The strong mother, the normal guy father who's very good at his job but a little bit crap at family sometimes because he's a man and that's what we're like. We focus on the wrong thing sometimes. Amazing little girl as the daughter, a teenage son who isn't too emo, doesn't get on your nerves. Just a really good little family unit, and then this thing plays out, and it's no War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise running around and, oh look, I magically found my family. No, it's believable pretty much all the way through. A couple of little frustrating bits. They bottled it at the end, if you ask me. They should have stuck to their guns, but I get why they didn't. Really good pick, really good movie. I'm giving that like. I have to apologise for yesterday. I was giving stars. What was that all about? I'm sorry. Today I'll do it properly. This gets 43 on the 50 Shades of Death scale. Very impressive. The next film, anthology piece, I believe it's the creators of like VHS, which I know some of you don't like, because it's a little bit incoherent and doesn't really tie together all that well with the tapes and then the overarching story. This one is an anthology piece, but it has a through line. It's coherent. It's got some badass monsters in it, which I loved, and just really clever way of joining different directors' pieces and stories together in a really entertaining, not too tame, just romp down a highway, really. Some really good touches, some really good ideas, and yeah, that's a really strong start for today. The next film, I'm not too convinced about. I am going to read up on this. I feel I owe it to bring it to you all, so I will probably go, but I don't anticipate enjoying the next one, so watch this space. Now go back to my scary light. Do you know, I think it's because I lean on my hand and stuff when I'm watching a movie. I put my arm on, like, the elbow on the corner of the chair, and then I sort of do this. So it pushes this bit of hair up, this bit down, and I must have been doing the opposite yesterday. This isn't Boz's fashion tips, honestly. So, the next 2 movies. SPL PFL 2, Time for Consequences. I didn't know what the title was. Going, like I said already, going to all these movies completely blind. I know nothing about any of them really. Well, a few bits about some, but this one was clueless. My compadre sitting next to me were just like, yeah, we're not staying for this, we're off. I was like, okay, fine. I owe it to my listeners and viewers, I suppose, on this, to sit through everything on offer and then give my opinions. So I sit there, the credits roll, and it's a Tony Jaa film, and I'm like, oh, I'm in. There's never enough double knees flying through windows, double knees hitting people in chests, flying elbows to the top of the head, which amazingly would crack your skull in half like a melon, but people just seem to be able to get up afterwards. But this was a really interesting crossover storyline between the Chinese guy and Tony Jaa, who's Thai, and it was between Hong Kong and Thailand, Bangkok. And this sort of interweaving storyline, which actually ties together really neatly at the end. It's not bad. It loses you at first. You're like, I don't really know what's going on here. But by the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, see what you did there. And there's some pretty cool fighting stuff. So you've got a mix of Kung Fu and Muay Thai. Some really over-the-blown wire work, some very super cool moves. So yeah, I was perfectly happy with this movie. I can understand why a FrightFest audience might be a little bit divided. But then, you know, bear in mind, this is the festival that played the earliest clip of Hammer Girl from the Raid 2. Gareth Evans is one of the FrightFest beloved directors, and always welcome when he's doing stuff. So yeah, it's a natural tie-in. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. The next one was The Other Side of the Door, I think it was called. Really interestingly shot in Mumbai, mainly, and it's a beautiful film to look at, starring who is from The Walking Dead, otherwise known as Rick's wife, what got pregnant and got eaten. That lady. See, I'm really good with the names. She's very good indeed. It's a ghosty sort of story, tied in with some Indian sort of gods and folklore and stuff, and very much J-horror influence. The director says that himself. You'll hear that on the Q&A that will be on the podcast. He makes no bones about that's what it is. Very deliberate, and he pulls it off. I think it's some good scares. The main criticism I heard rattling around is there was nothing terribly original, and I suppose with that kind of movie, is there anything terribly original left? The main thing is, does it scare you? Does it put you on edge? And I was on edge at the end of the film, which, as a result, in my book, so probably give that, I don't know, probably a strong 37 on the 50 Shades scale. Oh, and the other one, the Kung Fu one, probably around the same sort of, probably about a 36. I've seen better, but it was good. So yeah, that's it for this, and I'll get back to you with the last little set of movies. Goodbye. Hello. Yeah, this is going to be a really short one. Went to see Baskin was on next, which is a feature-length version of a short that was showed, I think, Glasgow about 3 years ago, so I didn't see it. It's shot in Turkey. Turkish actors and everything else. Seems perfectly competent, but it's one of these that's a bit surreal. It's a bit off the wall. It's a bit nuts, and unfortunately I made the mistake of not really eating enough, thinking that a Weiss beer would be filling enough to keep me going, and it had the opposite effect. Having had 5 hours sleep, it just knocked me the hell out. So I didn't fall asleep, but I kept nodding, you know, you just like, and you realise you've missed like 10-15 seconds. Problem is, in 10-15 seconds you miss several subtitles, which means you lose the thread of the plot, and if the plot is absolutely bananas anyway, you got no hope of holding on to it. So I ducked out on the Q&A on that. I'm sorry, I had to go and eat something. That will not be on the podcast. So if you're a fan of Baskin and wanted to hear about it, then I'm sure there's really good stuff on the FrightFest website. You can, they record all the interviews and stuff. They must have it accessible somewhere. So sorry, it's the only one I've let you down on. It will be the only one, I promise. Just didn't get as much sleep as I planned. What can I say? It's not that freaky, is it? Guess what I just saw? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I saw the remake of Martyrs, coming to DVD on the 4th of April 2016. So I would suggest you find something else on the 4th of April to spend your fucking money on. I'm not saying any more. I have so much in the can for this. I'm like a race car with a nitrous oxide canister ready to go. I'm not going to let go here. I'm going to let go on the podcast because, you know, hopefully some people are watching this and they'll come and check out our podcast. That's kind of the idea of these vlogs. Well, and to give you some detail on the day. Yeah, American remake of one of my favourite films of all time. I was already angry, obviously. So, yeah. All I'm going to say here is I think the audience were very nice, and at the end of the screening, maybe they were just showing their support for the fantastic organisers of this amazing festival. and you know, we really appreciate all the effort they put in. So there was a mediocre round of applause. I couldn't bring myself to applaud at the end of this movie, and I believe the gesture, I can only do it with one hand because I'm holding the phone with the other one at the moment, but it was something along the lines of this. And I will leave it at that. Thankfully, our final movie was The Devil's Candy. Oh, okay, so Deathgasm is the metal movie, right? It's the metal comedy movie. It's one of the best movies of all time. I absolutely adored it. I'm gonna come up because I get a different angle here. I look more fetching this way. Yeah, so it's the heavy metal king of metal horror movies. This is a proper horror movie. It is not a comedy. There's some funny moments in it, but not much. This is designed to upset you, disturb you, put you on the edge of your seat and keep you firmly there, with some spectacular visuals and just some knockout performances. The young teenage girl in this, I don't know who she is, but we will know within a few years very much who she is. She was just electrifying. This film upset me in ways that a lot of other films try and do by being extreme and over the top. This didn't have to be. I won't spoil it, but something happens in this movie to a woman, and she screams the scream of pure terror and agony, and you hear it through a wall. It's somewhere else, and that upset me to the core. It was really quite visceral. My heart rate was up as the film ended. But the film is about a family who move to a farm out. They buy a new house, and nasty things have happened in the house beforehand. That's fairly trite. It's been done many a time, but very rarely with this much class. We've got a really awesome bad guy who comes across as completely harmless and is completely the opposite of that. And it's brilliant, and it just has a fantastic soundtrack. It starts off with hefty metal, it has a bit more hefty metal, and then it ends with hefty metal. So anybody who puts the Cavalera Conspiracy on their soundtrack gets a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, a really strong film to end on. Doesn't leave you skipping out of the cinema going, yay, you know, something like Turbo Kid or Deathgasm, but as a horror fan, you leave the cinema elated because you've just seen a really good example of the genre that just makes you pleased you were there, pleased to get a sneak preview, early showing of it, and we get to tell all you guys that when it comes out, go see it. Really good movie. The lead guy in it, took me a little while to recognise him because he had the beard and the long hair because he's playing this metalhead artist. Last thing I saw him in was Late Phases, and he plays the son to the badass blind guy who kills werewolves, and he was looking a bit sort of tired in that role, you know, and in this he has been to the gym. My word, has he been to the gym. And he's got all these awesome tattoos painted on and long hair, and he's a real interesting character. So definitely check out Devil's Candy when that comes out. And that's it, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to wend my way back down south, the 7-hour drive, and who knows, I might do another vlog in the van if I'm bored, but I don't want to spoil too much. Couple of weeks, 3 at the most, we should have a podcast out rounding up all of this in a bit more detail. So for now, goodbye.